but we weren't seeing too much that morning. It was really slow. And then we caught some glimpse of some legs moving through the pine trees. As I was sneaking in there, a truck pulled up in the field and they had a blue rock thrower in the back of their truck, which was like, I was like, this isn't gonna work out. This deer's gonna take off. As I was walking down a bank, I seen some coyotes, and then I turned and seen what they were after, and they were chasing the deer I'd originally hit. We were able to sneak within about 70, 80 yards of them, and we got caught. It's my favorite hunting trip of every year, is getting back out to South Dakota and just enjoying everything out there that South Dakota has to offer.
You're watching Victory Outdoors, proudly presented by Expedition Archery.
Every year I try to go up to South Dakota, and every year rules change and regulations, and you really got to pay attention to those things when you're heading out of state. So one of the cool things about South Dakota is when you purchase an archery tag, it's basically over the counter. You sit in, it's an automatic draw. But some of the rules that they've changed in the recent years is if you want to hunt public land, you got to purchase a trespass permit, and then you got to purchase your deer permit by a certain application period. I believe it's by the end of April. So with me hunting on private land, I really don't have to worry about that because even if you do hunt public land out there and you get one of them applications, you can't start hunting as a non-resident till after September's over, so October 1st. So it kind of puts you a little bit behind by a month of their season. So I like to hunt out there usually the beginning of September and then maybe again in November or December. So really different rules and regulations. You always want to pay attention to the rules and regulations when you're going out of state and making sure you're staying compliant and within the guidelines of what they set. But previous years have been great to me in South Dakota. We've had a lot of success out there. Even the years we don't kill anything or get a shot at anything, just being out there is amazing. The amount of encounters you have with the different species. I've had encounters with elk, mule deer, whitetail, coyotes, bobcats, pretty much everything you can think of. It's just so much more diverse and more fun for me to hunt.
It looks like they still got Prairie Dog Town right there. We can go whack a few dogs.
So every year before I'm able to go out of state hunting, my youngest son, Holden Warrick, plays football and I coach. So trying to get through the season before my hunting really takes off is something I enjoy doing, coaching, and especially coaching your own kid. It's a huge satisfying thing to watch your kids develop and learn sports and actually learn them from you and watch them develop over time and get better and better. So this year was no different. I was coaching Holden. We start in September. We usually don't get done till almost mid-November. So before I go to South Dakota, I got to make sure that we're done with football. We've made it as far as we could in the league and through the tournaments before I get to go. but I always enjoy coaching, but always really look forward to being able to get out and go to South Dakota hunting again.
This segment is brought to you by HuntStand.
So my cousin Greg Clements with the Hunting Public, he had shot his deer, really nice, heavy mass buck. We recovered it together.
Hart shot him. He ran 50 yards and is down. Oh man.
And then he wanted to sit with either his dad or myself, so he chose to sit with me. So the first night we hunted out of a tree, we got to see quite a few mule deer, one with a bag around its neck, which was surprising. I had a feed sack around its neck. But we didn't get anything really close that day, so the next morning we decided to go up the hill and hunt across the highway from where the place we stay. So once we got up there, we did some rattling and stuff like that. We did have the one evening another small buck run in when we rattled. But we weren't seeing too much that morning. It was really slow. And then we caught some glimpse of some legs moving through the pine trees. Got everything ready, and we had a doe come right into our setup. She turned, I made a really good shot. She ran about 20 yards and stood there. And it's amazing out there is the magpies. I swear, as soon as you shoot a deer, it's like they know you shot one, and they're on it. As the deer was still alive, there was a magpie landing on her, trying to pick at her. So we were just trying to be calm, stay there. I knew I'd made a good shot. She eventually passed, and we were able to get down and start the recovery.
I was not expecting one to come in that direction at all.
I don't get to hunt with my cousin Greg a whole lot, so those moments mean a lot to me to be able to hunt with him. He lives in Iowa and I live in Nebraska. Now he's moving to South Dakota, so hopefully I get to spend a little more time with him. But just to have those memories come back like we did when we were kids and hunted together all the time means more to me than the actual hunting itself, just spending time with my cousin. But it was really cool to get a hunt in with him and have him film it and be a part of what we used to do when we were little.
Two deer and a coyote. I think I can fix the broadhead.
It's about as easy as it gets.
Not as easy as it gets.
No track job necessary.
Wasn't bad shot placement at all.
That's exit.
That's
No, that's entry. Yeah, it's perfect. Nearly perfect. Cool.
perfect size doe.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good eater.
This segment is brought to you by Element Outdoors.
November 26th, and I am making my second trip out out to South Dakota. I've already filled my doe tag. Going out to try to fill my buck tag. My uncle, he's already been out here for almost a week. He's filled his buck tag. He has to fill his doe tag, but I'm not sure he's going to worry about that before he heads on back. I'm going to be joined by a good friend of mine, Chris Smutney, and we're going to try to get it done. I have a week to get it done. He has about 5 days. He's going to join me on Sunday. So today's Friday. But my uncle's been up here, like I said. He's been seeing a lot of bucks moving, chasing does. I've been getting pictures from my reveal cell cams, so hopefully I can get it done in this time frame. And if not, maybe on the last day or two I'll fill my tag with another big doe. I can shoot a mule deer doe on this tag. I've always wanted to shoot another mule deer, so maybe we'll see if that happens. But we'll see what happens. I have about 2 hours worth of driving left, and I'll be there. Get right after it. Just about to the house. Got 50 miles to go, and I am gonna get my bow out, shoot it, get everything ready to go. My uncle's been seeing some big bucks, so hopefully I can get on one tonight. Day 4.5 here in South Dakota, and I'm hunting a new spot. We got permission to hunt this place, and it's loaded with deer every night. A lot of mule deer. There's one nice shooter buck mule deer that we've seen, and then seen several whitetail bucks in here. There's also a mule deer. She's got a bag wrapped around her head, around her neck, so but should be an interesting night. We'll see what comes out. Once I got up there, my week overlapped with my uncle's for just like a couple days. He had told me about another buck that he had seen in the creek that he jumped 2 different times, which is a really nice 5x5. And so I hunted that evening and didn't see too much, but the next day, after he left, I went to walk the creek line looking for a place to put a tree stand close to where he said he'd seen that buck twice. As I was walking the creek line, I actually bumped into that buck and it didn't see me. I watched him bed down, and then I took back off for the house to get my camera, my tripod, and my bow, because I just happened to be just scouting when I walked down there. I was able to sneak back down there, putting in between the deer and I some really big cottonwood trees, waiting for the wind to blow, and I'd move forward when the wind was a little bit higher. I set up my tripod, got the camera rolling, and as I was sneaking in there, a truck pulled up in the field next to the land that we have permission to hunt, and they had a blue rock thrower in the back of their truck, which was like, I was like, this isn't going to work out. This deer is going to take off as soon as these guys get pulled all the way down in here. But it stayed bedded there for a while. I mean, they actually started shooting for a little bit, and it was still bedded there, only about 75 to 80 yards away from where these guys were shooting, which I was amazed it stayed that long. But every time they shot, I would take a step closer, trying to just make sure I was within about 20 yards, because I figured things were going to happen fairly quickly, and in which they did. The deer finally got spooked and jumped up. I drew back. As soon as it jumped, it took off out of frame, ran up a pretty steep bank.
This segment is brought to you by Reveal by Tacticam.
But every time they shot, I would take a step closer, trying to just make sure I was within about 20 yards, because I figured things were going to happen fairly quickly, and in which they did. The deer finally got spooked and jumped up. I drew back as soon as it jumped. It took off out of frame, ran up a pretty steep bank, got to the top, and as deer normally do, will stop to look back, and he did. And I misjudged the yardage and shot, and I hit him high, right below the spine. Didn't hit any vitals. I searched very, very hard for the deer that rest of that day. When my buddy came up there later that day, he helped me look. We couldn't find anything. So the next morning, I put him in one tree stand, and I went to another tree stand. As I was walking down a bank, I seen some coyotes, and then I turned and seen what they were after, and they were chasing the deer I'd originally hit. And they had a bit in his back leg on his hock to where he was hurting pretty bad, and one of the coyotes seen me and they took off. So I quick got out my camera, dug it out of my backpack, got as much footage as I could of the deer walking away wounded, and then had to make the decision of I need to put the camera down, try to get in front of this deer, and try to get a shot at him, because I didn't have a tripod with me. Otherwise I would have tried that. But without knowing where the deer was going to go, I just want to make sure I was able to put the deer down. It was wounded. So I made my move. He was standing in the water. I was able to get a good range on him, get above him, and made a good, clean, ethical shot to put him down. He ran through the creek, ended up dying right in the water. After that, my buddy came. We recovered the deer, got some more footage of it, got it all filled, dressed, taken care of, and I had told him once we got it hung, I said we should be able to go out to the prairie and try to locate some mule deer for him, because that's what he really wanted to get after. We went out to the prairie and immediately got on a really good mule deer buck, bedded in some rocks. Once we were sneaking up on him, a car came by on the county road. They spooked and took off. So when we were trying to stock up on those mule deer and using hunt stand, one of the things you can do is you can change things in hunt stand to better suit what you're doing. So one of the things I like to do is it has wind direction on there. I can get the wind direction perfect. It shows where direction it's out of. It shows what speed it's out of. And then I can switch to a topo map, so I know elevations, where the saddles are, where the ravines are, so I know how to move through that prairie, because when you're out there in the wide open, you don't want to be seen, so you really got to use the landscape to suit what you're doing. So what I like to do is when I have a group of deer spotted, I'll mark their location and then my location and try to draw out a map of how I'm going to get there without being seen. So by using the topo map, using wind direction, everything on hunt stand, I'm able to do those things without ever really having to start moving and then guessing again on what direction I have to go once I get there. Hunt stand's able to do that all for you, just by setting the maps up to where you need them to be and utilizing what hunt stand has to offer, because they have so much to offer on that app. So once we got them located again, made sure they were bedded down, and worked our way down a different ravine to be able to come up and constantly throwing milkweed to make sure the wind direction was good and we weren't going to get caught with our scent. We were able to sneak within about 70-80 yards of them, and we got caught as we were sneaking in there. Once we got in there though, we just laid down flat. They calmed back down, kind of went back to the original area where they were bedded when we snuck up on them, and then my buddy was able to get ahead of me by about 30-40 yards closer than what I was, and was able to put a really good shot on the buck.
What a day. 2 bucks killed today. It is Chris's full day here, first full day, and my second full day, and we are done. We are tagged out.
Well, we started the day pretty good with Ryan shooting a nice 5x5 whitetail. And then once we got that cleaned up, we decided to come up in the hills here and see if we could find some mule deer. Kind of lucked out right away where we spotted them out of the truck actually when we pulled up. But then when they moved off over into another canyon, so we attempted a stalk there that didn't go so well. And then we watched where Ryan watched where they relocated to. So we, with his with what he knew at the lay of the land, we come around and got the wind right and kind of snuck up on them, and they ended up taking a 68-yard shot that hit him right where it needed to. And after a short chase after that, we ended up with him on the ground here. So it's been a pretty good day.
So it was really another successful year in South Dakota. Couldn't believe the encounters we had. We shot 4 different bucks out there. My cousin Greg, my friend Chris Mutney, my uncle Sailor. We all had success and look forward to going back there again. It's my favorite hunting trip of every year, is getting back out to South Dakota, spending time with my aunt and my cousins out there, and just enjoying everything out there that South Dakota has to offer.